Hi friends and family. Hey loved ones. Hey fools. How you doing? So it's been a couple days and working through my process and just doing my thing. Doing my thing as only I can do my thing. Yeah. And just, doing my best to be with everything. And last time I shared, I was just kind of expressing how I was feeling a little bit more patient about this process, and that was true at the time. And for the last couple days it's been a little bit more of a challenge. So pop quizzes for me, and so there has been a lot of like releasing going on. We just had our full moon, and it was interesting to see certain things and certain emotions come up. And certain days were easier than others, or certain moments sometimes, are a little bit more, I guess, graceful in certain ways. But it's just one step at a time. And so, I was noticing yesterday that it was pretty like, there was some heaviness. There were some feelings of heaviness, but I knew everything was okay, and it's just coming up to be released and, forgiven or integrated or healed or just recognized and seen and allowed to be and offered back, or allowing it to move through, like me, certain feelings. Like where yesterday, I've been, feeling a little tired and stuff, and just taking the time to attend to me and my well-being's needs, to care for me. And sometimes, I'll feel something that I don't like, and a lot of the time, it's my first reaction is to push it away. No, I don't want that. I don't like that. Don't need that. Don't want to feel that. And so it's like, there's kind of a need or a feeling that I need to guard myself sometimes. Or, and so it's just like an automatic spiritual bypassing or emotional bypassing kind of a thing in certain ways. So, but yesterday I was noticing, it's kind of feeling a little grindy and a little kind of yuckiness today, and but choosing to focus on, love, growth, joy, and possibilities, and the gifts and the abundance, and um, what is available and what is being received and what is being welcomed back and what is coming home, and to be to be integrated and included and harmonized within me. So I was feeling like picking up on like some feelings of depression, or just feeling certain feelings of depression kind of want to come up and just to move through and be released. And so I did like kind of, get that. Oh, it's okay. I'm just feeling like a little depressed right now, or I'm feeling some feelings of depression right now, and that's okay. I'll let myself feel like sad if I need to, and allow myself like to, acknowledge those feelings. And so, just allowing myself to do that, and then allowing myself to like express it and let the tears come, and honoring my tears, and then not getting attached to the story or anything, but just like allowing the feeling, the emotion to just move through and then be released. And that was kind of a different feeling. But there was all sorts of things coming up like that yesterday. But just noticing, like setting the intention to allow that, and then knowing that it can be easy, like in certain ways. Some of it can be. It doesn't have to be like this hard struggle. And just allow it to be. Let go of my resistance to it and my judgments about, what it is or what it's about. And so, just seeing into those things and yeah, also like just feeling some of that resistance today too, where I felt like a little ornery, or like just kind of, I don't know, I don't really know what that's about, but yeah, maybe it's just like residual just resentment and stuff. But yeah, I'm just gonna allow it to be what it is and not attach to it in any certain way. But yeah, so a couple things like I took a break. Yeah, I took a little break, gave myself a break, cut myself some slack, and yeah, pat myself on the back for all the all the willingness and all the effort that I've put in, and all the work that I've been showing up for and being willing to like put in. So it's been good though. Like my little niece came over this last weekend. Her birthday was at the beginning of March, and we got to have a little birthday sleepover together. And I always love being with her, and I love spending time with her and playing with her. And she's one of my good teachers. I've always loved kids, and I'm a kid at heart. So yeah, it was good for me, and it was good for her. So it was good mutual nurturing and being together and being love and allowing each other like our own moments. So I did get to like do a little painting that I haven't done for a little while. I do like the fluid paints and the paint pouring and stuff a lot, but it's been a while since I actually put like a paintbrush to a canvas, and I got to do that the other day, and just for fun, and I just to create something. Didn't know what it was going to be or what it was going to what it was going to look like. We just kind of was like, yeah, let's just do something. Let's try something. So super enjoyed that with her this weekend, and just playing, and yeah, and just being who we are as we are. And so that was good. And yeah, we do always fit like so much into a day, and I'm really surprised on some days like how that's possible. But just like with the magic and the innocence of the child, and there's no set way that they want to do it, so that they don't have to like really prepare or like make it into something that, or like they don't have like those expectations yet, I don't think, in certain ways that we do, that kind of blocks us, or kind of we can create different things that block our own way, like in different anchors and stuff that we have that kind of cause us resistance or trip us up in certain ways. But yeah, it's interesting to see in those ways, like, yeah, the unself consciousness, and then just like being present and being in the moment and being joyful and uh, curious and in awe and wonder and enchantment with the world. Yeah. And it is kind of, yeah, it's interesting though. Like, just to be, yeah, just to be. And that's like a really different thing sometimes, because of how we've been conditioned in a lot of ways. But yeah, anyways, just honoring my tears, taking a break. I actually did take the time to soak in a bath. Took a page from Frog Medicine, from Medicine Cards, and to hop to other lily pads and enjoy, yeah, some different things. And yeah, kind of like take a break from what was eating me. And that was helpful too in certain ways, but I'll still call on Frog to help me with more clarity and to help me replenish like the waters of my life, the waters of my being, the waters of my womb, the waters of my creativity, my creative spirit. So yeah, I just have a couple things to share, some funny things. But I'll read a little bit from the last couple days. I wrote a ton yesterday, though. It was coming in like a flood yesterday. And so that was nice. And just kind of, working with and playing with and just being here. And today it was just kind of a little more challenging. Like, I don't feel like doing anything today. I don't feel like, making myself do something. So I'm not going to. So it's like, we don't have to do anything. Just be today. Just be with me. So reading a couple things, and went back to my Women Who Run with the Wolves today. And I wanted to check out like the stages of forgiveness, to forego, to forbear, to forget, and to forgive. Because I read about that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I'm going to go back to that and see what advice, she had offered, and refresh on that. And so, that was good for me to look at again and receive for my process of forgiving me and we. So, March 26, 2021, I'd written: pride, guilt, shame, fear, and vanity, greed, false entitlement equals, upside down, equals martyr, slavery, victim, judge, tyranny, the fear and desire cycle of disease and suffering, its victim consciousness and poverty consciousness. Forgiveness, acceptance, allowance, release, trust and faith, willingness, compassion and humility, gratitude, joy, surrender, receptivity, equals freedom and accountability, the true state of union, dynamic peace and harmony. Dynamic peace is the peace that starts within, the peace that radiates from within outward. So radiating, being, creating, becoming, regenerating, prosperity, abundance, fullness, and wholeness, we are all free to be. So it was an interesting day today. I was more inward today, and actually I took the time to soak in a tub for a bit in the afternoon. I felt kind of tired, but I got some things done, taking care of my loves, and as best I'm able to. Please help us all return to a natural state of health, prosperity, and wellness, please, and thank you. So just like, that's my desire, but like letting go, like, of that attachment to that desire. Still allowing that desire, but letting go of the attachment that I have to the outcome, or to receiving that, because it already exists and it's already here, so I can let it go and let it manifest, let it be manifested. So I cleaned up my space in all sorts of ways, and it feels good to feel refreshed, cleansed, and replenished, cared for, nurtured, held, supported, and nourished. And extending that to others as well. That's love and prosperity, forgiveness, humility, trust, faith, and grace, gratitude, presence, endurance, and fortitude, service and action, letting go of reward or recognition. I see my value and worth, my riches. Her roots and his crown are our roots and thy crown. My wholeness and fullness, oneness through all I am, and all we really are. So letting go of expectations, judgments, stories, agendas, strategies, identities, roles, and attachments. Sharing and caring, resting and acting. Dreaming and dancing, being and becoming, receiving and penetrating, dissolving and manifesting, co-creating and cooperating, renewing and regenerating, responding and rejuvenating. Innocence, folly, and wisdom, becoming all that I am. And then, on Saturday morning, it's feeling easier to let go and observe, feel and release, surrender and remember that things aren't always as they seem to be. No need to attach to any one way of seeing things or get locked into opposition of extreme polarities. Just listen. Just be, listen, observe, witness, suspend, and be open to receptivity and what love is offering, presenting, reflecting, showing, teaching, expressing, asking me to respond to with detachment, through clarity, inner seeing, knowing, penetrating, intuiting, allowing, accepting, observing, gazing, compassionate understanding, surrendering, and releasing again. And so just making peace with me and making peace with what is. I accept that many are lost in an artificial entrancement and are hypnotized asleep and unconsciously operating from the lower states of ego consciousness, a fixed and static, narcissistic, codependent, powerlessness dynamic. Wounded child, wounded parent, wounded masculine, and wounded feminine, toxic mindset. A distortion and an inversion of the divine feminine, the devouring mother, and the dishonoring of our divine innocence. A reversal of unself-consciousness, an illusion or maya of one against, rather than one for all and all for one. Free will and self-expression for the whole soul and the one becoming through all. For the integrity of the whole. For my own and for the world soul. Values and virtues. Moralism versus morality. My values are not your values. Your values are not my values. I value real freedom, true power, and individual and collective responsibility in service to the whole. I value, myself and my worth. I value all life. I value, my truth. I value my worth. So truth, transparency, honesty, authenticity, courage, valor, and bravery, all for one and one for all. Not really a grandstanding type of a thing, but actual courage and inner strength, grace, faith, and integrity. Be willing to bite, be willing to choose. I am willing to ask, and I am willing to open to a new way of seeing me in the whole, and seeing all within me, as I am. Seeing me as the one and the one within me, as I am, here I am, as I am. Thinking about some posts I shared a little while ago. It's been almost 6 months now since I've been off Facebook. Thinking about some of those Facebook posts last year and the various reactions that I observed, assumed, interpreted, and perceived, judged, labeled, and critiqued. And some reactions and responses were unexpected, including my own. There's one thing that's coming up that I wrote to clarify for me and we what's mine and what's not mine, to help me set boundaries and claim all of me. And it was righteous rage and indignation, a way to separate me from the herd. It was, in a way, to differentiate and to push them away, because I was feeling so upset, disgusted, shocked, and disappointed in the sheep and their fear, shame, hate programming, reinforcing the lack story, poverty consciousness, victim judge mentality. And those who I did not expect to fall for it, to fall for the story and the lies. Oh, that was felt so very disappointing and disenchanting to me. My rose-colored glasses shattering into a million pieces, further fragmenting my perceptions of them and our supposed shared realities. Why couldn't they see, and why couldn't they see me? Why didn't they understand? Or why couldn't they let go of their seen and unseen rigidities, or their old ways of operating? Mentors, teachers, elders, and those on the spiritual or awakening path of healing and discovery, I thought they would know and would be able to see. But now I know that we are all just pretending and winging it as we go along, playing and pretending we know. We never really arrive and we never really know. But God does, and our God self does know. Our hearts know, and the true soul being knows. Our ego likes to think it knows and has it all under control. So let them fall and let them go. I pray for them and I pray for us all. I bless us all. Please bless us all. Please help us and let go. To let go. And remember that we're all love. It's okay not to know. Just let go. To forbear, to forego, to forgive and forget. Ask more questions. Listen, pray, bless, thank, praise, celebrate, notice, be present, and be free to appreciate and experience all this love I am for me and we. Trust myself, trust in my love, trust God, trust in all the creative possibilities. Thank the darkness, the challenge, the grand opportunity to know myself as all I am, to shine my light through the darkness and choose to love all that I am, as I am, for all that I am, through all that I am. So I was thinking about, the little soul in the sun. That was a good story for me to receive and to honor my own innocence and replenish, and nurture that innocence. So on Monday, yesterday, yeah, that's when I wrote a lot. A lot came up for me to see, and I'll just start sharing, and then I have some other related things. So yeah, the full moon energies in Libra, because we're still in that window, and it is really interesting, like coming into balance and coming into alignment. And sometimes it can show us where we've been out of alignment, or where there's been certain imbalances that have created misalignments and chaos in our lives. So water and fire, air and earth, wood and metal, alchemy, ether and akasha, formless forms, substance, prima materia, transformation, magic and manifestation, duality, polarity, unity and diversity. All the elements, all the wisdom, all the folly, all the energies, all the parts of the whole, all aspects being purified, integrated, and aligned in service to the whole. Hope, joy, grief, and sorrow, life, death, rebirth. Self-trust, self-love, self-worth. Compassion and allowance, tears, laughter, grief, and mirth. Life, sex, death, and rebirth. Breaking up or breaking out is hard to do. Dying to the old to be born into the new. Shedding old layers, shedding old skin, clearing old growth, clearing old molds. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Toughening up, leveling up, growing in and growing out. Softening, opening, awakening, remembering, rebirth. Endurance, perseverance, trust, and nurturance. Playful wolf pups, and our generous Mother Earth. Eagle, condor, dove, and heron. Raven and crow. Hawk the divine messenger, wren, duck, frog, falcon, snake, bat, and goose. Swan song, hummingbird, peacock, and peahen, the sacred masculine and sacred feminine in divine union once again. Mother and child, father and son, sisters and brothers, we are all one. We are all loved, we are all sons, shining, aligning, all stars of the one sun. Believe and know that I am God, I am the one I've been waiting for, I am one love. Seeking unity, reconciling the two through being the one I am and I love, becoming full. Forgiveness, miracles, blessings, opportunities, the grieving process, the growth process, the process of individuation, knowing myself and healing, self-mastery. Know thyself and be a light unto thyself. Let your light so shine and be the one becoming all you really are. Enjoy the ride. Relax, unwind, let go, remind. Be here right now. I am thine. Leave the rest behind. Isn't it about damn time? The chariot, temperance, judgment, the magician, the hierophant, the high priestess. Freedom, power, and responsibility in service to the whole and our integrity. Push and pull, letting go of resistance, and all that keeps me locked in opposition with my own energy. My gift of love I've been given to be, God's gift of creativity and love to be with me. For me to be, for we to be, for her to be, for all to be. I don't need to change, force, or control anything. Perception management, fixing it or figuring it out. Let it all move through me. Just flow and let go. And yeah, so those were just some helpful reminders that I got to write, for myself in the morning. And it was like, I felt like I was being pulled all over the place. And it was like, it took a lot of focus, just to come back to the center and just to be here with me. Instead of, being pulled off and carried away in other directions through my own emotional pain body. And so I just wrote somewhat scattered thoughts today, and lots of messages emerging, submerging, and re-emerging and remembering, forgetting, dancing, dreaming, quickening, presencing, awakening, gathering, and integrating. Being, creating, becoming all I am, allowing, loving, witnessing, fully all I am for all of me. Yeah, so that was a little tough, but I was thinking about, what kind of personal goals do I really have that I'd like to ask for? What would I like to ask for right now? Because if it is all here and it is ours for the asking, well, gosh, why don't we start asking for what we really want, So just looking at those things, what do we really want? And I know too, like right now, it is about rewiring and rewilding and re-empowering and reclaiming ourselves and our minds and opening our hearts and softening, but also toughening up, like the endurance. And it made me think of the wolf pup's feet, like how they're soft as clay when they're born, but they get toughened up and their mother helps them in a lot of ways. And so it is like, yeah, that mother's love, the great mother's love, which is very cool because later on, like, I listened to a podcast by Shannon Port, and yeah, and she went into some of that, and I took some notes, and I was like, yay, this is very, very affirming. And yeah, thank you for the messages and the gifts and the synchronicities, like, around all that. And also, I was thinking about integrity. Like, yeah, what does integrity really mean to me? And so I decided, yeah, to like just write it down a couple things and then look up the definition. And this is what I wrote down, just this little snippet. Integrity, and all we means to me. Intact, soundness, entirety, integral, integrate. Yeah, and that is from the Latin integer or integritus. And so, yeah, integrity. So righteousness, rectitude, and togetherness, truthfulness, honor, and cohesion. Soul essence, abundance, wholeness, oneness, rightness. And then this is what I took from the online dictionary. The state of being whole and undivided, upholding territorial integrity and sovereignty, similar as unity, unification, and wholeness. The condition of being unified, unimpaired, or sound in construction, structural integrity. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, the state of being whole and undivided. The condition of being unified, or sound in construction, in our structural integrity. And so, yeah, that's what it's been about, is building new structures that support that integrity. Yeah, the integrity of the whole. And so, yeah, I like that. And that's what I get to focus on and I get to choose for myself. So rewiring, rewilding, re-envisioning, rebuilding, accepting and participating, reviewing and releasing, listening and receiving, grieving, expressing, allowing, witnessing, and revealing, or healing. So letting go of judgments, expectations, and manipulations, fear, distrust, and trepidation, to heal and reveal the wounds of separation and become one at peace within me. Surrendering who I am and who I think I need to be worthy of this love that I already am. For I know I've always been all this love I know I am. I release and surrender my ego's needs to please and to be pleased or to be pleasing. I am willing, so let it be. So be here now, just be with me, be with life, be with all that is here for me now. I release what is to be. I release what's been to be. I release and surrender all I desire to be right here with me and we. I release all others to claim and take their journeys, to go on their own path. I release them, I forgive them, and I bless them on their way. With strength, grace, faith, and humility, I am willing to be free. So it is, so let it be. We are free, we are one, so be. 13, that's the death card. So be. Above and below, within and without, old and new, before and behind. Merkaba, chariot, vehicle. I bid thee unbind her. She is free. All is free now. Frog medicine, the power of tears, the water of the skies and the water of the earth, the rain and the rivers, the ocean, the sea, and the lily ponds. Clarity, sunshine, renewal, the higher light of the one divine mind, the thunder and lightning beings, regenerating and replenishing the waters of life. Trust myself and my guidance. God's love. Freeing up my energy to be one love for me and we. Through being me, being all I am. Excavation, integration, transmutation, purification, cleansing, healing, revelations, forgetting and remembrance, transcendence. Black Panther, jaguar, tiger, boar, bear, wolf, mountain lion, snake, inner teachers, spider, owl, sparrow, hummingbird, dragon, phoenix, salamander. Empowerment, claim it. Be in the glory of all I am. Be willing to open, soften, and let go of resistance and attachments. Yes. It doesn't have to be so hard. Sacrifice and service, personal empowerment, and service to the whole. And yeah, so one thing that I wrote, because it did feel like I was being bounced around in certain ways. It's just so funny. And so it just reminded me of a part in the story about the Handless Maiden, where the Handless Maiden, in the beginning of the story, she had been sweeping the yard with a willow broom, going back and forth, to and fro. And so I just wrote, going back and forth, to and fro, forever, with no metabolism, or an inner-developed, self-regulating, self-organizing system. The Handless Maiden sweeping the yard perpetually or continually, just like pushing the boulder up the hill again and again for all time. For what and for why? To prove that I exist, or I am worthy to exist and belong here? It makes me wonder why. Like, why do I keep going back to that? Like, is it just an automatic habit, or like, what hooks me back into those stories? Like, yeah, seeing, like, is it purely like a program that gets activated by the pain body? Yeah, and it's just not quite sure about that. Like, yeah, but it's just like, because that pattern's been going that way for a long time, and maybe it's just like now I'm just becoming aware of it, like when I do a pattern interrupt, and maybe that's, yeah, I'm just noticing it more, and yeah, to interrupt it. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I wrote this, and it was inspired by Shannon Port's Goddess Report that she did for April 2021 yesterday. Speak your truth from your heart. See through the eye of your soul. Listen and hear. The heart opens, so we can all heal together. The dove, divine peace and love. Divine logos, wisdom is one. And so she was talking about the archetype of bondage, and the different energies, and the patriarchal inversion, and the inversion of the divine feminine. And yeah, I've been aware of all that stuff, like with my alchemy work that I've been choosing for myself. And it's just nice to like kind of get affirmations or confirmations that I'm on the right track. Yeah, in certain ways. So what she was saying was the shadow side of the zodiac is war, and it's a misuse of our energy. It's using our energy against ourselves. And yeah, that's true. So when the carnal takes over, the soul is trapped and we lose our true power. It's only accessible through the heart. And the mind is being held over spirit. That's the subsumation. So that's spirit being subsumed by matter rather than spirit governing matter. The higher mind is accessed through the heart, and the solar force, communication, divine reason, the sun, superconsciousness. It's exalted in Aries, true vision, rejuvenation. And then there's like the Aries Mars influence right now, and that's like the Emperor, number 4, and also like stuff coming up with sexual energy, the sun in Taurus conjunct Uranus opposite the moon. Misuse of creative energy, sexual energy run by carnal desires and appetites. Many are being driven right now by a form of possession of the lower ego consciousness, bombarded by behaviors that create violence, chaos, and bondage, being disguised as liberating and empowering, that really block the energy of the divine wisdom of love, the feminine wisdom of love. This is a war on consciousness. How can we anchor the soul's wisdom here on earth? Transmutation and transfiguration. Step onto the path of healing through accessing our own power to love and be love. And this is known as the descent of the clouds. And I'd never heard that before. And that was Like, I kind of like that. It is very descriptive. It's a time of great confusion. Yeah. And maybe self-made delusions. So our accountability to wisdom is being usurped, the inversion or the opposite of the age of Aquarius. So is it degeneration or regeneration? Me and we, love yourself. So I thought it was really cool too, because I've been like looking at my chart and then like this astrology, like of course, like I always like have loved that stuff. Yeah, always. But been getting more familiar with some of my the aspects in my chart that I hadn't been like familiar with. And so I super appreciate like looking at what's going on right now, and it's and being able to relate it to like some of the archetypal themes and the images that are coming in for me right now too. And it's just like a whole new way of being, like operating multidimensionally. Yeah, definitely. Different way of operating, like through the whole soul. And so like the energy of Aries, like that's the I am, that's me. So it is about the ego and like, egotism. But the ego isn't bad in and of itself. It just needs to be purified, or it just gets to be purified, be exalted, to be that exalted gatekeeper of consciousness. So it can be like, Aries can be selfish, but it can hold the light and the shadow side. It can hold both. And so and Libra as well. So and Libra is we and we are, and so that is like the solar and the lunar forces. So call in our devotion, our dedication, our commitment through partnerships, relationships, friendship, and kinship. High emanation. That's the love shifts. Balance equals alignment and peace and harmony. And so, see us all as soul. We are all unique expressions of divine love, divine sparks of creation. Divine creation allows for the polarity. And the mother, the divine mother of all. The deep love of the mother. Balancing the above and below, she holds the keys of me, we. She is the force that births all, through the power of the word, in and through the awakened soul. And the word is being used against humanity at this time. And 5 is the number of the fall, Mercury and the mind, the fall of consciousness. Patriarchal inversion, one fall after another, inversion of the goddess or the divine feminine soul. So right now we have an opportunity to integrate and purify and access the true creative abilities of the soul. And the sun, the purified ego, the gatekeeper, the union of the solar and lunar forces, super consciousness and integration. The true vehicle of ascension is our awakened heart. And we get to pay attention to different energies, and we get to refine our discernment, and we get to become aware of what is depleting my energy or what is replenishing my energy, what contributes to our healing, wellness, joy, and authentic creativity, and what takes away from that, like what takes away from who we are, and what like contributes to who we are, to all we are, what serves that. So those are some good questions to look at, like through our own ways of seeing, understanding and discerning frequencies and energetic energies. I am is alive within me, and we, the soul, is infinite. Honor the whole and our sovereignty. We are the commanders of our reality. We're the magicians. We're the creators. We get to choose to take and claim our own power, to take our power back, or to claim it back, to claim it again, to reclaim it. And so focus on emitting rather than absorbing. Listen to intuition and divine guidance and will. The seeds of power are genuine, and the power is amplified. The focus magnifies. Feel the love and commitment to the truth and alchemy and service to the whole. To be truly empowered, healed, and sovereign. To express ourselves through our truth. Birth through our love, expanding love, strengthening ourselves. To find our authentic power and expression, like our true power from within. To know and to love ourselves, to be and express ourselves, guided to our true work in the frequency of love. Divine Logos is within us, the solar force, our divinity, birthed into our field, our divine intelligence connected to the divine will, open to the divinity that lives within us. I am the sun, superconsciousness, true integration, the light of the one. I heal through the heart, universal codes of divine wisdom. Know me, find me, and love those near you. Hear me through nature and your body. Learn to connect inward. Hearing is healing. I am speaking to you through nature. Hear her heart. Love abundance, true soul, ample organic light, anchor to embody our soul. Receptivity, remember who you are. Remember who we are. Be fearless, innocent, unself-consciousness. Allow the process, forgiveness, patience, the I am presence. Trust and thank you, love. Thank you, mother, life, truth. Creator, source, goddess, goodness, joy, love, and beauty. Be ye as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves. That was coming up a lot like last week. Be ye as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves. Choose love, choose life, choose joy, to be one at peace with all. Abracadabra, I create what I speak. Logos, the word, the chariot, purified vehicle of divine consciousness. Encourage, envision, embody, and be. Coherence, hear her heart. Hello from the mother. Hello from the other side. The whole within me and we. Self-esteem, self-love, self-ownership, self-confidence, self-empowerment, self-worth, self-care, and self-respect. Energy etiquette, introspection and listening, surrender, detachment, and discernment. Personal goals, intentions, focus, attention, curiosity, wonder, desire, without attachment. Willingness, reception, faith, grace, strength, and humility. Beauty, truth, coherence, gratitude, appreciation, peace, love, clarity. Trust and integrity, alignment, union, prosperity. Willness, oneness, rightness, remembrance, self-confidence, acceptance, grace, self-worth, self-love, self-mastery, in service to the whole. What can I ask for and what can I create? So, yeah. Those are just some of the things that I wrote down yesterday. And there is more. That's, I think, enough for now. And, just working through some of those things. And, just kind of letting go of how it's supposed to be. Yeah. And letting go of the limited restrictions that I placed on me. It had to be a certain way. And now I can just be what it is. And one funny thing that did happen that was kind of interesting was when my niece was staying with me for a sleepover, I read her a bedtime story. Before she went to sleep, and I flipped open my Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends. And it was just kind of hilarious because we had been talking about certain things. And she had to ask me, are you serious? Is that what it says? But I flipped it right open to page 75. And this little cute poem here. Oh, have you heard? So I'll read this to you. Oh, have you heard? Oh, have you heard? It's time for vaccinations. I think someone put salt into your tea. They're giving us 11-month vacations, and Florida has sunk into the sea. Oh, have you heard the president has measles? The principal has just burned down the school. Your hair is full of ants and purple weasels. April Fool. Yeah. So I thought that was funny because it did go along with, some things. So April Fools. And I got curious, and because I had been thinking that April Fools is coming up. Yeah, it's almost April now. And it was just like, it's going to be kind of hard to tell now, like what is satire, because it's so hard to tell now, because like things that would have not been mistaken last year, like before all this silliness. Yeah, it's just kind of funny, like stuff is just can't make it up anymore. Like it's just ridiculous and it's absurd. And so it is like, yeah, it was just kind of made me curious though, like what's the origin of April Fool's Day? So I did a little investigating about that. And I had mentioned, like, in a couple of my videos, it was like recently, in the last little while, about the calendar being changed and about, like, yeah, certain dates and, like, yeah, how that may have, yeah, totally thrown us off, like, what year we're actually in certain ways, from switching from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. But I know, like, there's all different cycles and systems, like, that we use to measure time and all of that. But I thought it was really interesting because it did relate. So looking into, like, what is the origin of April Fool's Day, like, no one seems to really know for sure, but there is speculation, and there is, like, records of it or mentions of it in old literary works from the 1500s and 1600s and things like that. But still back then, some people had even lost, like, where it came from way back then, like didn't quite understand why they had the April Fools, or why they had, like, little pranks or these traditions to send people on fool's errands or whatnot. So I thought it was just kind of fun to look at April Fools. So what I read about, I found this blog post, and I think it was like on the Library of Congress or something. And yeah, I just wrote down a couple notes from it. So April Fool's Day, and the Feast of Fools. So the beginning of the year used to be observed on March 25th. Before they changed the calendar, and they changed the new year to be on January 1st. So, yeah, not that long ago in our history, it wasn't that long ago, the first of the year was celebrated and observed on March 25th. And there was a week-long, like, observance and celebration and festival in certain parts of the world, like, to observe this new beginning and these changes and this, yeah, this new life and everything. And it was like, in a way, like Christmas, because people had parties and they exchanged gifts. So, well, that's kind of interesting. So the beginning of the year was celebrated on March 25th, because the day was a longer solar cycle after the vernal equinox. So the day, and night are equal on the equinox, and for, like, the little window, like 3-day period, they're about equal. But then on around the 25th, like a couple days after the vernal equinox, the day is noticeably longer, and so that's when the sun starts its ascent. And yeah, so that's what they would consider when the day was longer than the night, and it was perceptible. Yeah, that's when the first, yeah, day of the year was considered, because of the increasing light. And so some believe that it's possible that a joyful festival called Hilaria is associated with the vernal equinox and celebrated March 25th through April 1st in classical Roman times. So it was a joyful festival, and March 25th was called the 8th of the calends of April, and April 1st was, yeah, the calends of April. So maybe it's related, but who's to say, and who knows, really. And so, yeah, Hilaria, a festival that honors spring with a week-long observance. And then also, there is a French origin, and that was kind of interesting. So in 1564, the new year, like, officially was said to be moved to January 1st. So the new year had previously been celebrated and observed on March 25th and lasted a week with revelry, parties, and gift exchanges, celebrations, and observances. And many Frenchmen resisted the change of the new year and continued partying and celebrating, like, yeah, those dates, March 25th through April 1st. So they would still celebrate and exchange gifts during this week ending April 1st. And so, like, I guess there was some social engineering there where jokers and ridiculed these conservatives they ridiculed these conservatives and their steadfast attachment to the old New Year's date by sending foolish gifts and invitations to non-existent parties, and sending people on fool's errands and being silly because, yeah, just kind of mocking the people who still celebrated New Year's on March 25th rather than January 1st. And then also there's this term called April Fish. So in France, April Fish is a name for a person duped on April Fool's Day. Fish are hungry and plentiful in the spring and easy to catch. So an April fish was more gullible than a fish at other times of the year. So it's French origin and association. And another side note, the switch from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar, which France adopted officially in 1582. So they had, it seemed like they had already tried to move over to that like switch for the new year or whatnot, but I guess they officially embraced the Gregorian calendar in 1582. And so, yeah, the rest, I guess, is history. So that was just kind of funny and interesting, I thought. But I think, yeah, it's kind of silly, yeah, some of these things. How, like, the curiosity and just kind of, yeah, leads me to more things, looking into more things. So, like, the question always, there's always an answer, but it always leads to more questions. So it's just kind of funny that way, in a lot of ways. So, but, yeah, I know sometimes we resist change and we're attached to, like, old ways of doing things, but sometimes, like, certain things, yeah, are pushed, like, to steer us or influence us in a certain way that don't serve our best interests. And yeah, like, there is that social pressure too, like, that we kind of conform to in a lot of ways, or we think it's just going to be easier to go along or to play along with certain things. And really, yeah, maybe we think it's easier at the time, but yeah, then we kind of go through a hard time, like when we we course correct, but that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be so hard. It really doesn't, in a lot of ways either. Yeah, it just gets to be whatever we let it be, maybe sometimes. So what I wrote down today about to forgo and to forbear and to forget and to forgive. And yeah, some of me was kind of feeling like I kind of shared last time about, well, yeah, there's a part of me that really kind of wants an apology, like from certain individuals, like, but it's okay, like, that I don't get one, like, but there is that, like, that part of me, this wounded part of me that kind of wants it, like, it's waiting for it, that's holding my breath for it, but not really, like, I'm not really, but, like, there's this wounded part of me that is, and that, like, feels all sulky about things. And so it's just kind of funny to see that in a lot of ways. But there are certain things that would need to be confronted with certain friendships and certain family relationships if I were to have an active relationship with them, or if they wanted something more than a superficial relationship or a surface relationship, I would require, yeah, certain things be addressed and, yeah, be held accountable. Like, yeah. And that is not a bad thing. It's just, yeah, it is what it is right now. And I'm not going to demand anything right now. I'm okay, like, letting it go and letting it fall away and letting it be what it is. But, like, yeah, if there was a chance in the future for another nurturing relationship, then it does take two to participate, and there are things that, like, I will require, you know, and yeah. But I'm willing to compromise as well and to hold myself accountable as well. So I was writing, if things were confronted and I was offered an apology, things cannot ever go back to what they once were here and now, because things can never become again what they once were. That's spiritual, mental, emotional necrophilia and a frozen fairy tale fantasy world. And so, yeah, healthy boundaries and certain shadow reactions that I've had is to help me know, to let me know how to shield and protect myself and my precious energy. And yeah, it's right for me to set those boundaries and to be honest with what I require. Yeah. And I need, like, to be in an authentic relationship that feels good for me right now. Yeah, that's how I feel, and that's I get to be selective in who I let in and who I share my energy with right now. And that's my choice, and that's my self-respect and my self-care for me. So, yeah. So to forego is to leave it alone and to take a break. And I really needed that. So thanks, Frog Medicine. I needed to take a break. And to forbear is to abstain from punishing. And that's like more of a state of grace. To let go and to loosen one's hold, particularly on memory, dropping the repetitive obsessing, and refusing to summon up the fiery material we refuse to recollect. It's active forgetting and not passive forgetting. It means not to haul up certain materials or turn them over and over, and to not work oneself up by repetitive thoughts, pictures, emotions, or like those stories of that injury. Yeah, and going back into that emotion and that story and that identity. Yeah, on the hamster wheel again. So it's about living in a new landscape. This stage of forgiveness, living in a new landscape, creating new life and new experiences to engage in and to focus on instead of the old, instead of the past. This does not erase memory. It lays the emotion surrounding the memory to rest. Yeah, letting it rest. Really. So that is, part of to forget. To forbear is to abstain from punishing. To let go, to loosen one hold. Yeah. And to forget is to aver from memory, to refuse to dwell or indulge. To forgive is to abandon the debt, to cease to harbor resentment, giving up one's resolve to retaliate, a pardon to release a person without his having made any emotional or any other sort of restitution. So, yeah, can pardon them and forgive them, even if they haven't made any emotional or other restitution. Forgiveness, the culmination of all foregoing, forbearing, and forgetting. To cease excluding the other, to stiff arm, ignore, act coldly toward, insisting on being neither patronizing nor phony. And so, yeah, since I'm not quite there yet, it's just better that I have my space. That's what I need for me, my healthy boundaries. So forgiveness is an act of creation. You are not waiting for anything. You are not wanting anything. You are free to go. So Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And that's from Women Who Run with the Wolves. So, yeah, that's where I am right now. And what I opened to earlier today was Rage's teacher. So, in Aperture Stories, things are implied rather than stated. In this tale, the understructure reveals an entire model for dealing with and healing from rage. By seeking a wise and calm healing force, going to the healer, accepting the challenge of going into psychic territory one has never approached before, climbing the mountain, recognizing the illusions, dealing with climbing the boulders, running under the trees, putting one's old and obsessive thoughts and feelings to rest, meeting the restless spirits without relatives to bury them, soliciting the great compassionate self, patiently feeding the bear and the bear returning her kindness, understanding the roaring side of the compassionate psyche, recognizing that the bear, the compassionate self, is not tame. The story demonstrates the importance of bringing the psychological knowledge down to earth in our real lives, coming down off the mountain and back into the village. Learning that healing is in the process of questing and practice, not in a single idea. Destruction of the hair. The heart of the story is apply all of these things to one's rage and all will be well. Advice from the healer to go home and apply these principles. This story is one of a group of stories that begin with the protagonist appealing to or soliciting an injured, lonely creature of one sort or another. If we look at the story as if all components were part of a single woman's psyche, we can see that the psyche has a very angry and tortured sector, as represented by the image of the husband home from the war. The loving spirit of the psyche, the wife, takes it upon herself to find a cure for this anger and rage so she and her love can live in peace and with love once again. This is a worthy endeavor for all women, for it treats rage and often allows us to find our way to forgiveness. The tale shows us that patience is a good thing to apply to fresh or old rage, as is embarking on a quest for its healing. Though each person's healing and insight will be different, the story proposes some interesting ideas about how to go about the process. A great philosopher prince named Shotoko Tashi lived in Japan at the turn of the 6th century. He taught, among other things, that one must do psychic work in both the inner and outer worlds, but even more so, he taught tolerance for every human, every creature, and every emotion. The balanced valuing of emotion is certainly an act of self-respect. Even raw and messy emotions can be understood as a form of light, crackling and bursting with energy. We can use the light of rage in a positive way in order to see into places we cannot usually see. A negative use of rage concentrates destructively in one tiny spot until, like acid creating an ulcer, it burns a black hole right through all the delicate layers of the psyche. But there is another way. All emotion, even rage, carries knowledge, insight, what some call enlightenment. Our rage can, for a time, become teacher, a thing not to be rid of so fast, but rather something to climb the mountain for, something to personify via various images in order to learn from, deal with internally, and then shape into something useful in the world as a result, or else let it go back down to dust. In a cohesive life, rage is not a standalone item. It is a substance waiting for our transformative efforts. The cycle of rage is like any other cycle. It rises, falls, dies, and is released as new energy. Attention to the matter of rage begins the process of transformation. Allowing oneself to be taught by one's rage, thereby transforming it, disperses it. One's energy returns to use in other areas, especially the area of creativity. Although some people claim they can create out of their chronic rage, the problem is that rage confines access to the collective unconscious, that infinite reservoir of imaginal images and thoughts, so that a person creating out of rage tends to create the same thing over and over again, with nothing new coming through. Untransformed rage can become a constant mantra about how oppressed, hurt, and tortured we were. One of my friends and fellow performance artist who claims to have been enraged forever refuses all help in dealing with it. When she writes scripts about war, she writes about how bad people are. When she writes scripts about the culture, similar bad characters arise. When she writes scripts about love, the same bad people with identical bad intentions show up. Rage corrodes our trust that anything good can occur. Something has happened to hope, and behind the loss of hope is usually anger, and behind anger, pain. Behind pain, usually torture of one sort or another, sometimes recent, but more often from long ago. In physical post-trauma work, we know that the sooner injury is dealt with, the less its effects spread or worsen. Also, the more quickly a trauma is contained and dealt with, the faster the recovery time. This is true for psychological trauma as well. What condition would we be in if we'd broken a leg as a child and 30 years later it still had not properly been set? The original trauma would cause tremendous disruption of other systems and rhythms in the body, such as the immune and skeletal systems, locomotion patterns, and so on. That is precisely the situation with old psychological trauma. For many, it was not attended to at the time, whether out of ignorance or neglect. Now one is home from the war, so to speak, but it feels as though one is still at war in the mind and body. Yet by harboring rage, that is, the fallout of trauma, Instead of questing for solutions to it, what caused it, what can we do with it, we seal ourselves into a room full of it for the rest of our lives. There is no way to live intermittently or otherwise. There is a life beyond thoughtless rage. As we see in the tale, it takes a conscious practice to contain and heal such. But we can do it. It truly takes only climbing through one step at a time. Bringing in the healer, climbing the mountain. So rather than trying to behave and not feel our rage, or rather than using it to burn down every living thing in a 100-mile radius, it is better to first ask rage to take a seat with us, have some tea, talk a while so we can find out what summoned this visitor. At first, rage acts like the angry husband in the story. It doesn't want to talk, it doesn't want to eat, it just wants to sit there and stare or rail or be left alone. It is at this critical point that we call the healer our wisest self, our best resources for seeing beyond ego irritation and aggravation. The healer is always the far-seer. She is the one who can tell us what good can come from exploring this emotive surge. Healers in fairy tales generally represent a calm and unperturbed aspect of the psyche. Even though the world may be falling to pieces outwardly, the inner healer is unswayed by it all and maintains the calm to figure out the best way to proceed. Every woman's psyche contains this fixer. It is part of the wild and natural psyche, and we are born with it. If we have lost track of its whereabouts, we can call it again by looking calmly at the situation causing us rage, projecting ourselves into the future, and from that vantage point, deciding what would make us feel proud of our past behavior and then acting that way. The outrage or irritation we naturally feel about various aspects of life and culture is exacerbated when there were repeated incidents of disrespect, harrowing, neglect, or high ambiguity in childhood. A person thusly injured is sensitized to further injury and utilizes all defenses to avoid them. Gross losses of power, meaning loss of certainty that we are worthy of care, respect, and concern, cause extreme and sorrow and angry childhood vows to once grown never allow oneself to be harmed like that ever again. Additionally, if a woman was raised to have fewer positive expectations than others in the family, with harsh restraints on her freedoms, deportment, language, and so forth, her normal anger is likely to escalate over issues, tones of voice, gestures, words, and other sensory triggers that remind her of the original events. Sometimes educated guesses can be made about the wounds of childhood by closely inspecting what matters adults irrationally lose their tempers over. We want to use anger as a creative force. We want to use it to change, develop, and protect. So whether a woman is dealing with the aggravation of the moment with an offspring or some sort of a searing, lengthy burn, the perspective of the healer is the same. When there is calm, there can be learning. There can be creative solutions. But where there is firestorm inside or out, it burns hot and leaves nothing but ash. We want to be able to look back on our actions with honor. We want something useful to show for feeling angry. While it is true that we sometimes need to vent our rage before we can progress to a learning calm, this needs to be done in a containment of some sort. Otherwise, it's like throwing a lighted match onto gasoline. The healer says, yes, this rage can be changed, but I need something from another world, something from the instinctual world, the world where animals still talk and the spirits live, something from the human imagination. In Buddhism, there is a questing action called Noibu, which means to go into the mountains in order to understand oneself and to remake one's connections to the great. It is a very old ritual related to the cycles of preparing the earth, sowing, and harvesting. While it might be good to go into the real mountains if possible, there are also mountains in the underworld and one's own unconscious, and luckily we all carry the entrance to the underworld right in our own psyches, so we can go into the mountains for renewal with dispatch. In mythos, a mountain is sometimes understood as a symbol describing the levels of mastery one must attain before one can ascend to the next level. The lowest part of the mountain, the foothills, often represents the urge towards consciousness. All that occurs in the foothills is thought of in terms of maturing consciousness. The middle part of the mountain is often thought of as the steeping part of the process, the part that tests the knowledge learned at the lower levels. The higher mountain represents intensified learning. The air is thin here. It takes endurance and determination to stay at the tasks. The peak of the mountain represents confrontation with the ultimate wisdom, such as that in mythos, wherein the old woman lives atop the mountain, or, as in this story, the wise old Brune. So it is good to take to the mountain when we don't know what else to do. When we are drawn to quests we know little about, this makes life and develops soul. In climbing the unknown mountain, we gain true knowledge of the instinctive psyche and the creative acts of which it is capable. That is our goal. Learning occurs differently for each person, but the instinctual viewpoint that emanates from the wild unconscious and that is cyclical begins to be the only one that makes sense of and gives meaning to life, our lives. It unerringly informs us about what to do next. Where can we find this process that will free us? On the mountain. On the mountain, we find additional clues about how to transform the hurt, negativism, and grudge-holding aspects of rage, all usually felt and often warranted initially. One is the phrase, arigato zaisho, which the woman sings to thank the trees and the mountains for allowing her to pass. Figuratively translated, the phrase means thank you, illusion. In Japanese, zaisho means a clear way of looking at matters that interfere with deeper understandings of ourselves and the world. A clear way of looking at matters that interfere with deeper understandings of ourselves and the world. An illusion occurs when something creates an image that is not real, such as heat waves on a road that make the road seem wavy. That there are heat waves is accurate, but the road is not really wavy. That is the illusion. The first piece of information is accurate, but the second piece, the conclusion, is not. In the story, the mountain allows the woman passage and the trees lift their limbs to let her pass. This symbolizes a lifting of illusions that allow the woman to proceed on her quest. In Buddhism, there are said to be 7 veils of illusion. As each is discarded, a person is said to understand another aspect of the true nature of life and the self. To lift the veils makes one strong enough to tolerate what life is about and to see into the patterns of events, people, and things, and eventually to learn not to take the first impressions so deadly seriously, but to look behind and beyond. In Buddhism, the lifting of the veils is necessary for enlightenment. The woman in this tale is on a journey to bring light into the darkness of rage. To do this, she must understand the many layers of reality there on the mountain. We have so many illusions about life. She is beautiful, therefore she is desirable. Can be an illusion. I am good, therefore I will be accepted, may also be an illusion. When we look for our truth, we are also looking to dispel our illusions. When we are able to see through these illusions, which in Buddhism would be called barriers to enlightenment, we are able to discover the hidden side of rage. These are some common illusions about rage. If I lose my rage, I will be changed, I will become weaker. The first premise is correct, but the conclusion is inaccurate. I learned my rage from my father, mother, grandmother, etc., and I am doomed to feel this way all my life. First statement accurate, conclusion inaccurate. These illusions are challenged by questing, by asking, studying, peering under the trees, and by climbing the body of the mountain. We lose our illusions when we take the risk to meet the aspect of our nature that is truly wild, a mentor of life, rage, patience, suspicion, wariness, secretiveness, remoteness, and resourcefulness, the crescent moon bear. While the woman is on the mountain, birds fly out at her. They are spirits of dead people who have no family to feed them, comfort them, or lay them to rest. When she prays for them, she becomes their family. She cares for them and comforts them. This is a useful way to understand the orphan dead of the psyche. These are the creative thoughts and words and ideas in a woman's life that have suffered premature death and that deeply contribute to her rage. In a way, one could say rage is the result of ghosts not laid properly to rest. That's interesting. There are suggestions for how to deal with them of a woman's psyche at the end of this chapter under Descanos. As in the story, it is a worthy task to propitiate the wise bear, the instinctive psyche, and to keep offering it spiritual food, whether that be church, prayer, archetypal psychology, dream life, art, rock climbing, or canoeing, traveling, or whatever else. To come close to the mystery of the bear, one gives it food. It is quite a journey, this fixing of rage, stripping down illusions, taking rage as teacher, asking the help of the extinctual psyche, laying the dead past to rest. So, yeah, I thought that was super interesting. And I guess the story that it was referring to was the crescent moon bear, maybe. Yeah. And this is from chapter 12, Marking Territory, the Boundaries of Rage and Forgiveness. So I thought that was interesting that I just flipped it open and that was what I needed. Yeah. And it went along so well with what I've been working on and with what's been in my last 6 videos. So pretty awesome. And something that I said to my husband yesterday, because yeah, he's been kind of working through his own stuff as well. And I was just reminded of this quote by Sir Edmund Hillary, and it's not the mountain that we conquer, it's ourselves. And so that was just kind of funny that the mountain came up today in this. And also what was said about the ghosts that haven't been laid to rest, don't have anyone to comfort them. Yeah, that was interesting because, yeah, yesterday I wrote about the hungry ghost. Let's see if I can bring it. I wrote a lot yesterday. Yes. So when I was writing about values and virtues and moralism, what I accidentally started to write moralism versus Molarism, and I was like, oops, Freudian slip maybe. And then I was thinking about Maul, Mole, Voldemort, Moloch, and more, a hunger for more, the hungry ghost cut off from the source. Yeah, so that was interesting. Yeah. Oh, actually, that was from March 27th on Saturday. So, yeah, the ghost. This is a useful way to understand the orphan dead of the psyche. These are the creative thoughts and words and ideas in a woman's life that have suffered premature death and that deeply contribute to her rage. In a way, one could say rage is the result of ghosts not laid properly to rest. There are suggestions for how to deal with Muyun Botaki of a woman's psyche at the end of this chapter under Descanos. And yeah, I actually had mentioned that Descanos a couple videos ago, but I was going to look into that and explore that. And yeah, it's still on my to choose list. And so it's interesting that that has come up again. And now I can, see a little more about why there's, I already saw the value of exploring that, but I can see how that can help with closure in a lot of ways, and how that can help in the process of forgiveness by laying those dead parts to rest and letting the past, letting the past be laid to rest. So yeah, it's all interesting things. So thanks for joining me, and I feel we'll just share a little bit about Bat, because last time Frog and Bat came up, and I did read and share about Frog in Medicine Cards, but I did not share very much about Bat, and I feel that would be helpful right now. Bat, Rebirth. Sacred Bat flew to me from the darkness of the cave, womb-like reflections, answers it gave. Birth, death, rebirth, cycles of the whole, never ending, just eclipse the journey of the soul. Steeped in the mystery of Mesoamerican tribal ritual is the legend of Bat. Akin to ancient Buddhist belief in reincarnation in Central America, Bat is the symbol of rebirth. The bat has for centuries been a treasured medicine of the Aztec, Toltec, and Tulcan and Mayan peoples. Bat embraces the idea of shamanistic death. The ritual death of the healer is steeped in secrets and highly involved initiation rites. Shaman death is the symbolic death of the initiate to the old ways of life and personal identity.